So we made it to session 5, which means we're almost done. Today's going to be our last session before our kind of closing session next week. So there's been a lot of progress so far. I hope you guys feel the same way. How are you guys feeling about everything?
It's actually really nice. We learned a lot of different new strategies. We learned a lot of different skills. I never thought I would be able to control my cravings or I would be able to do something about them. But coming to these sessions, by learning all these new skills, I feel like I'm a bit more relaxed and I'm a bit more control of my own self.
Okay, great. That's really, really awesome to hear. Obviously makes us feel good that you're being able to take away something from these sessions, kind of like what we wanted, right? So that's really cool. How are you feeling about it all?
I honestly don't think anything's working, and I really don't even want to be here. I don't know why I'm here, but I am, and I don't want to participate today. I'm just going to sit here and do nothing.
I definitely get where you're coming from. Sometimes it's hard to kind of find that motivation in ourselves, but at the beginning of the sessions, we all came in here with a similar goal of trying to reach the end of the tunnel and make it through these sessions and learn some new coping strategies. So once we're done here, you kind of have something you can implement in your everyday life. Are you feeling like that might be a possibility for today, or?
I don't know. I don't care anymore. It's I don't think it's one thing, and I don't care anymore. It's just I'm always gonna want to have drugs no matter what. It's part of me. My family, everyone in my family does drugs. So what's the point? This is wasting my time.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely understand where you're coming from. It does make it tough when you feel like there's blinders in the way of you achieving your goals or things that you at one point thought were what you wanted. I can definitely understand how that can make it kind of a struggle to get yourself to participate. Are you feeling like you've been able to learn anything? Even our previous session, doing the CBT and coping training, were you able to take anything from that?
I feel like I learned, but I don't think it's realistic that after this is done, because this does come to an end, I'm actually going to remember this when I'm feeling stressed or whatnot. And I'm not going to be oh, I remember on this day that I learned this. I just don't think that's going to happen. It's not realistic, so I kind of just give up right now. It's just, this is the way I cope with things, and it is what it is. And my friends cope with it the same way, so what am I supposed to do?
So I'm wondering if you'd be willing to maybe still try and participate in today's session. We have a session based around mindfulness, which might help you kind of find a new state of mind in that whole sense of this is the way things are type of thing. You might be able to find a new motivation and find a new way of thinking and a new path to go down. So I'm wondering if you're willing to kind of stick to our contract from before, and we'll try and work through this session, and if there's any concerns, we can take them up at the end of the session.
I mean, I can try, I guess.
Okay, cool. I think that's all we can really ask for, right? And I really appreciate that you're willing to try and work this through with us.
Okay.
So Ellie's going to talk about mindfulness and give us a little introduction based on what we're going to do today, and then we'll move forward from there.
So mindfulness is a way of paying attention to what is happening in our lives, inside and out, and also looking at the present moment. So when we connect to the present, we basically want to look at our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. So with mindfulness, we're really paying attention and teaching ourselves how to stay in this moment. So I would like to go over a few things about mindfulness, and I would also like to have a little 5-minute activity where we do demonstrate and we do practice mindfulness. So there are benefits of mindfulness. Some of them are stress reduction, there's reduced rumination, we have less emotional reactivity, which could help with those cravings at some point. And then we also have more cognitive flexibility, which will allow taking this information and applying it to another setting. So in order to start our activity, I first wanted us to all relax in our seats. If we can we just put our feet on the floor? Just relax, find a spot that's very stable. You're not preaching or hanging back or trying to fall off your seat. So first I would invite us just to notice what your legs are doing. So, for instance, if your legs are crossed, maybe if it's on you're on a chair, you want to be like very sturdy. Next, I want just, straighten up your spine, don't stiff, but, relax your upper body, but also, have a nice posture. Next, we want to situate our upper arms parallel to the upper body. So we want to let our hands drop into our legs. We want to have our arms at our sides. Do not, try not to hunch over. We have the support of the chair at your back, so feel the chair. Next, we want to drop our chin. So I can invite you to either you can close your eyes or lower your gaze for this moment. And we just want to begin. So at this moment, I just invite everybody to just take a few deep breaths. In, maybe count to 3. 1, 2, 3. And exhale. 1, 2, 3. Let's try inhaling. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. I would just like to, whenever you're ready, you can start to look up. You can start to open your eyes. So how was that for everybody? Did anybody notice any cognitive or physical changes? Was your mind racing? How did it feel for you guys?
I guess I feel more relaxed.
Yeah, the whole thing with the mindfulness is going to be, it's like kind of like in hopes to bring you back down to baseline when you're having those moments of like stress and kind of like doubt, anything like that. The hope is if you can take that practice and kind of like find your own moment, like find your own place and be in that moment with yourself and just bring yourself back down to the person you are to your core. These breathing exercises and things like that help you become very aware of what's going on around you in the present moment, and we think that's really important to focus on in terms of coping with any cravings or any like of those fleeting emotions of, this is just my destiny, because you're in control of yourself, and the mindfulness will help you bring back to that center.
Okay. And we also would like to take attention that during these mindfulness practices, your mind is going to be generating different ideas and situations, but it's really important to stay focused on one object or on one part of the body, like it's like either you're breathing or like a sensation that you're feeling, it's like daydreaming, but we also want to intend to focus on that specific object and then return the attention to that. So for instance, if it is the breathing, let's say you have another thought going through your head. Oh, I feel like using. You can still have that thought, but you want to acknowledge you are having that thought and then return back to that breathing and, that window of tolerance.
It's definitely important what Ali was saying, the acknowledgement of the thought. A big thing is that you're understanding what you're feeling. It's not a matter of suppressing it. It's a matter of recognizing it, but moving past it. So that's what we hope you're going to be able to get from today's session. But we do have another activity for you. We figured before starting that activity and jumping in, we could take a 15-minute break. So if you want to just go and get a drink of water, we're good to take our break now. Once we come back, we can do our activity.
Okay. It's like 10 minutes. So we can just close the door.
Okay, guys, once everybody's settled in from the break, we can jump right into our other mindfulness activity. So the big thing with this activity is it's going to be a focus on the present, and kind of what Ali was saying, focusing on like the here and the now, the way things feel, any sort of sensations you're gathering from what you're experiencing in that moment. So with that, I'm going to pass around some mints. It's called the mint exercise. guess you can do too. So, I just want you, before we open it, I want you to think about how this mint feels with the wrapper on. So touch like every part of it, like the mint itself, the little tangles on the end. Recognize that it's like kind of crispy between your fingers. It's solid. Then also recognize how it looks as well. It's got some color to it. It's got this like red and white stripe, the like typical mint colors, right? But yeah, how does your skin like respond to that feeling of the wrapper between it? Are you getting any sort of sensation on your fingers when you're holding it? Yeah.
It feels really sturdy, and it feels like that gives you a control over, like, if I imagine myself in the situation, I can feel it that something is sturdy there and I can hold on to it.
Yeah,
Instead of
definitely.
that,
So it's helping you like kind of like relate an emotion to it and like understand that like
A sense of control.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome. That's a really great way of thinking about it. So yeah, you're more than welcome to unwrap it now.
Do you get to eat it?
Yeah, but not yet. We're gonna do kind of the same thing, but now without the wrapper.
Okay.
You guys notice how it's already different, and we really want to focus on the exact moment that we're in. So much as just like giving it the 3 seconds of taking the wrapper off, which is just changing a very simple situation about it. It's a whole different item you're feeling in your fingers. So rather than that like kind of crunchy and crispy wrapper we're feeling, now it's kind of sticky. It's still solid like you were saying. It still has its integrity in place. But like it almost gives it like a sense of more vulnerability once that wrapper's gone, right?
Yeah, it's like the wrapper was like protecting, like it was a wall, and you took the wall down, and now it's like very vulnerable, so you can get hurt easily, right?
Which honestly isn't too bad of a thing, because I mean now that the wrapper's off, you can eat it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like fulfilling its purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want, you can smell it. Recognize that it probably has a smell now. Before it didn't.
Yeah.
Would have.
Like toothpaste.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, go ahead and eat it if you guys want. Like enjoy the mint. It's definitely up to you. It's your might have after you touched it.
So just move it along in your mouth. Let your tongue caress the mint. Let your teeth, even if you want to bite down on it. There's chocolate in the middle, so you can taste that chocolate layer.
The most important thing is that you're just recognizing that moment by moment, this mint is constantly changing, right? So nothing's stuck. Nothing about this mint showed us that like the one way it was when we first saw it is the way it will always be, right? And it's just a focus on whatever's happening in that moment, and it's happening in front of us. There's always different meaning, and it just depends on what you're willing to focus on.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Just like the way it feels as like a moment ago, it was in the hand, it was covered, and then it's like after 2 seconds, you take it out.
Mm-hmm.
And after 2 seconds, that's a normal.
Yeah.
And after 2 seconds, that's going to be gone.
Yeah. Even the matter of there's layers to it, right? It's not like kind of like that idea of like don't judge a book by its cover. Like once we unwrapped it, okay, it looked like just a mint. I'm sure in a few seconds you're going to be tasting that it's chocolate in the middle. There's so many different complexities to it that just because you thought one way about it doesn't mean that it couldn't change from what you originally felt about it. So yeah.
It kind of makes me feel better because, when you talk about like this constantly changing, I feel like, I'm not going to be a drug user for the entirety of my life, right?
Yeah.
So because it could change, I have the power to make that change. It's just really hard sometimes.
Mm-hmm. For sure, and it's definitely hard to see it especially when you're going through moments of doubt, it's hard to get out of your own head. And that's kind of why that focus on like the present moment is like so important in mindfulness, because you just need to pull yourself out of that state of mind and be able to focus on like what's currently happening in front of me that for some reason might be making me feel this way, but like, do I have any reason to affirm these thoughts, or is it just a feeling? You know what I mean?
And you know, mindfulness is just like any physical exercise. You know, the more you do it, the more repetition that goes into it, the better you really become. And then over time, it is involved in neuroplasticity. So changing the brain and changing the structure of one's brain. So, you know, these thoughts that do come into your head, they can be accepted, and like you can turn them into more positive representations.
I just feel like sometimes mindfulness is like hard to do, especially, you know, because we are all inmates, and it's kind of hard when it's like very noisy, and like, it's hard to focus, you know, just to like take that time to like sit down and try, you know, when I really want to use, and it's really hard to do that. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, just to add on that when I think about like mindfulness, it's like my mind is all over the place, and it's really hard for me to focus on, okay, I just want to focus on this moment, but what about like, this is my whole life, I've been in here, I've been doing all this stuff, so it's like constantly judging myself, and just, I don't know how to kind of bring in the focus just in the moment.
Well,
Super
you know,
hard.
when we do begin mindfulness, I understand what you're saying. It is very difficult, you know, to focus on one thing, because a lot of the time, you know, we have these conscious thoughts running through our heads, like, what do I have to do today? What do I have to, you know, think about today? What, you know, all of our task lists are repeating in our head. But that's why it's so important to just, you know, just take that few minutes to yourself each day, and just, that's really about self-care. And, you know, highlighting that, like, this is, like, life is difficult. There are struggles, and, you know, but in the end, you have to care for yourself.
But how do I know it's working? Because if I can't focus, I can't tell if it's working or not.
I think one thing that's important that we can, like, all of us can remember is even just the beginning of our session today. Diana didn't really feel like she wanted to be here. She wasn't motivated at all to continue the sessions. She didn't feel like any of the activities had been helping. And we did a simple 5-minute mindfulness activity, and she's having no problem right now seeing how it can definitely relate in her life. And yeah, things are hard, and everything in life is going to be hard, but once you get past that initial struggle, you can definitely do it. And she seems to be pretty at peace with the fact that she might have just found something that can help her get through this.
Okay, I can give it a try. That might work for me too.
You know, it's important to also recognize how far that you have come. You know, you were in this group because you had that motivation, and you continued with the group for all these, you know, 5 weeks so far. We're like, it's coming down to our few final weeks, and you know, you have been committed. You have been applying yourself. You know, you have been doing the activities. Like, that's the most important thing to remember, is that you are engaged.
Mm-hmm. What you've done through these sessions have shown so much resilience for you as people. And I understand sometimes it's hard to kind of see the good in yourself almost when you have a lot of self-doubt. But you just got to know, like, you made a commitment at the beginning of these sessions. And there was a full process to go through. We didn't just it wasn't just an open group for whoever, right? And you guys have obviously, like, stuck to your word, and you've really committed yourself, and because of that, that shows a lot of who you are as a person and what you're able to achieve once you put your mind to it. And it can definitely be hard. And like you were saying, it's hard, like, being in here and finding a place for yourself, but I think that's a big thing. Like, once you find that safe space, even if it's something like just sitting in the library for 5 minutes every day, just because it's one of the more quiet places, one of the more empty places, you know, you can really focus in on that moment and, like, how you're going to get through your day because of that internal feeling you have of you're just going to conquer it, right? And it's going to be a focus on your breathing and knowing how your body's feeling and really acknowledging like what you're going through and how you're going to move past it.
I hear what you're saying, but it's just hard. Like, you know, we're in this group, and I think about, like, yes, I've come this far. I've been doing really good coming to all these sessions. However, once the session is done, it's like, it's almost like I have to train my brain to think, like, okay, well, I've come this far, but once I get out, it's kind of like I start being hard on myself, and I'm like, well, you know, I have all these problems, and I can't get rid of this problem, I can't get rid of that problem. So it's hard for me to train my brain to be like, no, you know what, I've done so much, and I'm making that effort. It goes all negative once I get out of these sessions because I don't have that support, especially in here.
Yes. No, I understand. It's definitely going to be tough to implement on your own, but we're really confident in the fact that once you're going to make it through these sessions, even though it's going to be hard to do on your own, you're going to push through and you're going to do it. And once you start committing yourself to doing these things every day, even if it starts once a week, stuff like that, you're going to find it's going to get easier and easier as the time goes on.
Okay.
But I think we can kind of debrief from the activity.
So I just have a few questions. So the first one is, how did it feel? How was that activity? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
I really liked it, just because it symbolized, you know, me as a person, like the rapper, kind of me as like my defense mechanisms, and how like the way I'm very rough just because I've been through a lot, and you know, just unwrapping it it was weird because unwrapping it just made me feel uncomfortable, just because I was imagining me now vulnerable. So I feel like that activity was very helpful for me, and just kind of like focusing on the present and being here, and just, you know, not worrying about anything else in my life right now, just focusing on this activity. So I thought it was pretty helpful.
I felt like this activity made me realize that maybe this is not me. Maybe the rapper needed to go. It's like the rapper does not represent me. It's like what's inside, that is me. Because if I take this off, it's kind of, I label myself as a substance abuser. So I kind of understood in a way that I'm taking that label off. I'm a human, I made a mistake, and I am willing to work on it. So it kind of gave me that perspective that if I try and keep trying, I can get rid of that and become a new person and be motivated for that, and I'm willing to work on that. So I really, really, really like that. It gave me an insight in my own self, and what self-doubt I had kind of made it a little bit clearer with that activity.
Very nice. I feel like what you guys said also contributes to what Izzy said about when you do take off that wrapper, you can be surprised, really, about what's underneath it.
It's all just a matter of being able to really focus in on like what your goals are and what you want to achieve.
So I also just wanted, second question is, what did you guys learn from this activity? Besides the, you know, these feelings that do contribute to maybe like vulnerability, or not labeling ourselves as just one thing, and not one.
What I learned is like, because I know I might not have this support, but if I go outside and if I can look into my own self from what I am and from what I have became, because this showed me I can take this off, I can be vulnerable. So this can show me the journey I came through from who I was to who I have become, and it can help me think about the situation, like Diana said, within the moment, and I can deal with, like, if I have cravings and if I just want to use the game, it's just like focus on that moment. And I feel like I have learned these techniques where I can ground myself and then think logically and rationally about it. So that's what I think.
It's really nice to hear that you think you'll be able to recognize, you know, like, yeah, these might be my feelings right now, but I know I can like pull myself away from that because it's not truly what I want.
Yeah, pretty much.
I feel like when I'm lacking motivation, similar to like at the beginning of this group, I feel like I'll think back to this exercise and think about just focusing on the moment instead of like going back and feeling, well, I can't do this, this hasn't been working for me, and just kind of just ground myself, take a deep breath and just kind of think back and try to not put myself down so much so that I can actually keep going and keep staying motivated while I'm trying to keep clean. It's very hard, and it's hard to train my brain, but I think that's like a goal that I possibly want to do, is just set that goal in terms of, whenever I feel like this, I'll stop and I'll rethink this activity, and hopefully it'll work.
So I think that, you basically highlighted it. When do we use mindfulness? And that's really about when these cravings start to surge, or let's say you see a trigger, so like for instance, how do you think that you guys, would you apply mindfulness? Do you think that you could maybe apply this?
Yeah, I can see this. Like, if I see something that's triggering me, so I can step out of that situation. If I can recognize things, okay, fine, something is happening. I feel like, oh my god, I want to use, and like, if I start to recognize that, I can just step out and try, like, have like breathing exercise, and then try to calm myself down and try to make like a logical decision. So I feel like this is very important for me to learn that how can I recognize those feelings, thoughts that come, and it also makes me feel like, do I really want to do this, or should I do this, not do this, have that logical debate, and then I can maybe apply mindfulness to that, and it can help me make the decision at the moment.
I think for me, I will be using it. I will use it mostly when like my thoughts are getting overwhelming, and I feel like that's kind of where I'm being triggered to use. So I feel when I'm in that state of mind, and like I feel like my mind is like at 100 miles per hour, that's where I'll be like, okay, you know what, I need to stop. I have to do some mindfulness and just stay grounded, and hopefully that will help me like that.
Very nice, very nice. You guys have touched on some very key points about mindfulness. So just to finish up, I guess we just wanted to talk a little bit more about mindfulness. So as we did say, mindfulness is really, it is a long-term thing. It is very difficult to get into that mood where you can really focus on one particular thing. But I think during the activity, what we've noticed is that you guys were very relaxed, and that, there was some strong positives, like if you are searching for a craving, and then especially with the exercise, like feeling vulnerable and, really changing that to think of yourself as something different instead of labeling, which I found was very important, that the label doesn't define you. It's just one label. There could be multiple labels.
Yeah, I think it's important because it all kind of just boils down to, there's constantly going to be things thrown at us, whether it's our own thoughts or feelings or things just out in the world when stuff gets tough. But so long as you can recognize what's going on in your life at that time and what you really want to make out of those moments, even though it's tough moments, that's what's going to be most important. And once you're able to really implement these mindfulness practices, it's going to be easy to make it a part of your everyday life and be able to you're going to have no issue really recognizing exactly what you want to do and exactly how you want to make each moment count.
So as we do at the end of every session, we have our sample evaluation form for you guys to fill out. So we're going to give you a few minutes to fill that out. But next week is actually our last week. So last week we are going to do a termination and debriefing. We're going to just summarize and check in what we've learned, what you guys have taken away from this experience, and we would love any questions, concerns, or comments. and see, if you guys really enjoyed the program and like what you took away from the program. And then of course we'll have a final discussion, and we'll go from there. And then we all have a nice little certificate of completion for you.
I think you guys did like really well today. I think we made a lot of progress, and I hope you guys feel the same way. I'm really happy you were able to kind of work through that little bit of emotion you were feeling earlier at the beginning, and I hope we were able to find something that could potentially work for you guys outside of the sessions moving forward.
Thanks for participating.